How many times have you told yourself that this time would be different? This Monday, you would finally become consistent. This month, you would fix your routine. This year, you would get serious about your health, your finances, your goals, and the direction of your life. For a few days, maybe you did. You woke up earlier. You made a plan. You cleaned up your habits. You felt motivated. Then something happened. You got tired. Work became stressful. You missed one day. Your schedule changed. You lost momentum. And before long, you were back in the same place, preparing for another fresh start. After enough failed restarts, it becomes easy to believe that something is wrong with you. Maybe you think you are lazy. Maybe you think you lack discipline. Maybe you believe you simply are not the kind of person who can stay consistent. But the real problem may be something different. You may be trying to rebuild your life without understanding the system that allows change to survive. Lasting change is not held together by motivation alone. It depends on 7 connected pillars: awareness, identity, discipline, focus, energy, emotional regulation, and execution. In this video, we are going to break down all 7. You will learn what each pillar controls, what weakness in that pillar looks like, and how to identify the pillar that may currently be holding you back. Because you may not need another complete restart. You may simply need to strengthen the right part of your system. Most people respond to a problem by attacking whatever is easiest to see. If they feel unproductive, they buy a planner. If they feel unhealthy, they begin a strict diet. If they feel behind, they create a demanding new routine. If they feel unmotivated, they watch more motivational content. These actions can create temporary movement. But temporary movement is not the same as lasting change. Imagine someone who creates what they believe is the perfect morning routine. They plan to wake up at 5 in the morning, exercise, meditate, journal, read, prepare meals, and begin working before most people are awake. The routine looks impressive, but they are only sleeping 5 hours a night. They have not addressed their energy. Their plan depends almost entirely on motivation. They have not developed discipline. They still think of themselves as someone who always quits. They have not challenged their identity. And the first time they miss a morning, they become frustrated and abandon the entire routine. They have not built emotional regulation. The problem was never just the morning routine. The problem was the system underneath it. A strong plan cannot survive for long on a weak foundation. This happens in almost every area of life. People try to fix their finances without examining their spending patterns. They try to improve their fitness without protecting their sleep and energy. They try to become more productive while allowing distractions to control their attention. They set meaningful goals but spend months preparing instead of taking action. They attempt to force change through willpower while ignoring the parts of their life that repeatedly pull them backward. A temporary burst of effort cannot permanently compensate for a weak personal system. That is why the 7 pillars matter. The 7 life shift pillars are not 7 unrelated self-improvement tips. They work together. Each pillar supports the others. And weakness in one pillar can damage progress across the entire system. Awareness allows you to see what is happening. Identity shapes what you believe is possible and normal for you. Discipline helps you act when motivation disappears. Focus protects your attention. Energy gives you the physical and mental capacity to follow through. Emotional regulation helps your progress survive stress and discomfort. Execution turns everything you know into completed action. I am B.M. Overton, and Life Shift Systems is built around a simple idea. Real change becomes more sustainable when you stop depending on dramatic restarts and begin building a stronger personal system. The first pillar is awareness. Awareness is the ability to see your behavior, patterns, decisions, and circumstances clearly. You cannot change a pattern that you refuse to see, and you cannot solve a problem that you have never accurately identified. Weak awareness often sounds like this: I do not know where my time goes. I keep ending up in the same situation. I do not understand why I lose motivation. I never have enough money. Everything always seems to happen to me. These statements may describe real frustration, but they do not yet explain the pattern. Consider someone who says they do not have enough time to work toward an important goal. That may feel completely true, but they have never tracked how they spend their evenings. They do not notice the hours spent scrolling after work. They do not notice how often they switch between tasks. They do not notice how much time is lost through indecision. Without awareness, the problem remains vague. And vague problems are difficult to change. Awareness does not mean attacking yourself. It does not mean turning every mistake into proof that you are failing. It means becoming willing to observe your life honestly. A practical starting action is to track one repeated behavior for 7 days. Do not try to fix everything immediately. Just observe it. If the problem is time, track where your time goes. If the problem is spending, record every purchase. If the problem is low energy, note your sleep, meals, stress, and activity. If the problem is inconsistency, track when and why you abandon the behavior. The goal is not judgment. The goal is clarity. Because awareness gives you something more useful than guilt. It gives you information. The second pillar is identity. Identity is the collection of beliefs you hold about who you are, what you are capable of, and what kind of behavior is normal for someone like you. Many people want different results without changing the identity that keeps recreating their current behavior. They say things like, "I have never been consistent. I always quit. I am not a disciplined person. I am terrible with money. I am just not someone who exercises. This is simply who I am." When these statements are repeated often enough, they stop feeling like temporary descriptions. They begin to feel like permanent facts. A person may follow a routine for a week, but still see themselves as someone who cannot maintain routines. They may save money for a month, but still believe they are naturally irresponsible with money. They may complete several workouts, but continue identifying as someone who never sticks with fitness. Eventually, behavior often returns to match identity. This does not mean you can change your life by repeating positive statements that you do not believe. Identity is not built through empty declarations. It is built through evidence. Every completed action becomes a small vote for the person you are becoming. You do not prove that you are disciplined by creating the perfect plan. You prove it by keeping a manageable commitment. You do not become someone who takes care of their health by waiting to feel transformed. You begin by completing one health-supporting action repeatedly. A practical starting action is to choose one behavior that provides evidence for the identity you want to build. Instead of saying, "I need to become a completely different person," choose something smaller. You might say, "I am becoming someone who keeps one promise to myself each day." Then choose a promise you can actually keep. Identity becomes stronger when your actions repeatedly support it. The third pillar is discipline. Discipline is the ability to keep a commitment after the emotion that created it has disappeared. Motivation can help you begin. Discipline helps you continue. But discipline is often misunderstood. It does not mean punishing yourself. It does not mean ignoring every sign of exhaustion. And it does not mean operating at maximum intensity every day. Real discipline includes the ability to create commitments that can survive normal life. Weak discipline often looks like acting only when you feel motivated, constantly renegotiating promises you made to yourself, choosing immediate comfort over long-term benefit, starting with extreme intensity, or abandoning a habit because you could not complete the ideal version. Imagine someone who decides that every morning must include a 2-hour routine. The first few days go well. Then they oversleep. They only have 20 minutes available. Because they cannot complete the full routine, they do nothing. This is not only a discipline problem. It is also a design problem. Their routine has no minimum version. A practical starting action is to create a minimum version of one important habit. If the full workout takes 45 minutes, the minimum version might be 10 minutes. If the full writing session is 1,000 words, the minimum might be 1 paragraph. If the complete cleaning routine takes an hour, the minimum might be clearing 1 surface. The minimum is not the ultimate goal. It is the version that protects continuity. Discipline grows when you learn how to keep moving even when conditions are imperfect. The fourth pillar is focus. Focus is not simply the ability to pay attention. Focus is the ability to decide what deserves your attention and protect it from everything else. Many people are not failing because they are doing nothing. They are failing because they are trying to do too much. They want to improve their fitness, start a business, learn a new skill, fix their finances, rebuild every routine, read more, sleep better, organize their home, and completely transform their life at the same time. Every goal may be worthwhile, but when everything becomes a priority, nothing receives enough attention to create meaningful progress. Weak focus often looks like starting too many projects, constantly changing direction, responding to every notification, researching endlessly, confusing busyness with progress, or abandoning one strategy every time a new idea appears. Focus requires exclusion. Choosing one direction means temporarily saying no to other good ideas. That can feel uncomfortable. But divided attention produces divided results. A practical starting action is to choose one primary objective for the next 30 days, not 7 primary objectives. 1. You can still handle your normal responsibilities, but one area receives deliberate improvement. Ask yourself, if I made meaningful progress in only one area this month, which area would improve my life the most? Choose it, protect it, and give it enough time to produce evidence. The 5th pillar is energy. Energy is your physical, mental, and emotional capacity to follow through. Your plans cannot consistently demand more energy than your life produces. Many people interpret depletion as laziness. They believe they need more discipline when they are sleeping poorly, overwhelmed, mentally scattered, under constant stress, and never allowing themselves to recover. Discipline matters, but discipline does not make energy irrelevant. Weak energy can look like constant exhaustion, irregular sleep, mental overload, poor nutrition, lack of movement, no recovery, an environment that constantly drains attention, or a schedule that asks for more than you can sustainably give. Imagine someone who works long hours, sleeps 5 hours a night, consumes constant stimulation, and then criticizes themselves for not having the energy to complete a demanding evening routine. The problem is not necessarily a lack of ambition. Their system is operating with limited capacity. Energy should not become an excuse to avoid all difficult action. But ignoring energy eventually damages discipline, focus, emotional regulation, and execution. A practical starting action is to identify the largest avoidable drain on your energy. Not every drain can be removed immediately. Work, family responsibilities, and real-life demands still exist. But some drains can be reduced. Late-night scrolling, unnecessary commitments, constant notifications, disorganized environments, poor sleep habits, mental clutter. Before adding another major goal, look for something that is already consuming the energy you need. Sometimes progress begins by removing a drain rather than adding another demand. The 6th pillar is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the ability to experience discomfort without allowing that discomfort to control the entire direction of your life. It does not mean suppressing emotion. It does not mean pretending that stress, disappointment, anger, fear, or frustration do not exist. It means learning how to respond without allowing a temporary emotional state to destroy a long-term commitment. Weak emotional regulation often looks like abandoning a plan after a stressful day, making impulsive decisions, escaping discomfort through spending, eating, scrolling, or avoidance, treating a temporary feeling as a permanent reality, or turning one setback into a complete collapse. Imagine someone who misses one workout. The missed workout creates frustration. The frustration becomes shame. The shame becomes avoidance. And one missed day turns into an entire month. The real damage did not come from the missed workout. It came from the response to it. The setback is not always the collapse. The response can create the collapse. A practical starting action is to create a recovery rule before the next setback happens. For example, if I miss one day, I return the next day with the minimum version. If I overspend, I review the purchase and return to the plan at the next decision. If I lose focus for a week, I do not create a completely new system. I restart the smallest useful action. Recovery rules reduce the number of decisions you must make while emotional. You already know what comes next. The goal is not to avoid every setback. The goal is to stop allowing one setback to become a full retreat. The seventh pillar is execution. Execution is the point where intention becomes evidence. You can understand yourself. You can create the right identity. You can build discipline. You can protect your focus. You can improve your energy. You can regulate your emotions, but eventually, something must be completed. Weak execution often looks like constant planning, saving information without applying it, waiting for perfect conditions, researching every possible option, starting but rarely finishing, or preparing indefinitely. Planning feels productive because it creates a sense of movement. Learning feels productive because it increases knowledge. Organizing feels productive because it creates order. But none of those activities automatically create a completed result. At some point, the email must be sent. The application must be submitted. The workout must begin. The budget must be written. The first page must be created. The product must be published. The difficult conversation must happen. Execution is where you discover what actually works. Before action, many problems are theoretical. After action, you receive feedback. A practical starting action is to choose one meaningful step that can be completed within the next 24 hours. Not researched, not planned, completed. The action does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be real. The power of this framework is not found in treating each pillar as a separate topic. The pillars interact. Awareness without execution can become endless self-analysis. You understand every problem, but nothing changes. Identity without discipline can become positive thinking without evidence. You say you are becoming someone new, but your repeated actions continue supporting the old identity. Discipline without energy can create burnout. You force yourself forward until the system collapses. Focus without emotional regulation can disappear the moment life becomes stressful. Energy without focus can be spent on activities that do not move your life forward. Execution without awareness can cause you to move quickly in the wrong direction. And emotional regulation without action can become passive acceptance. This is also why people can be strong in one area and still struggle overall. Someone may be extremely disciplined at work but have no focus in their personal goals. Someone may have strong awareness but weak execution. Someone may have excellent ideas and strong energy, but abandon progress whenever frustration appears. Someone may execute constantly while lacking enough awareness to recognize that the chosen direction is harming them. You do not need every pillar to be perfect. Perfection is not the goal. You need enough stability across the system for progress to survive pressure. And in many cases, the best place to begin is not your strongest pillar. It is the weakest pillar that is currently undermining everything else. Listen to the following statements. Choose the one that sounds most like your current situation. For awareness, I keep repeating patterns without fully understanding why. For identity, I do not truly believe I can become or remain a different person. For discipline, I know what I should do, but I usually only do it when I feel motivated. For focus, I start too many things and struggle to finish what matters most. For energy, I rarely have enough physical or mental capacity to follow through consistently. For emotional regulation, stress, frustration, or setbacks regularly destroy my progress. For execution, I spend more time planning, preparing, and learning than completing meaningful action. Do not choose the pillar that sounds most interesting. Do not choose the pillar you enjoy working on. Choose the one that is currently costing you the most progress. It is possible to struggle with several pillars at the same time. Most people do. But choosing one starting point prevents you from turning personal growth into another overwhelming project. Once you identify your weakest pillar, use this 5-step process. First, select the pillar. Be specific about the problem you are trying to solve. Second, choose one behavior that strengthens it. If the pillar is awareness, track one repeated pattern. If it is identity, keep one small promise each day. If it is discipline, create and complete a minimum habit. If it is focus, choose one primary objective. If it is energy, reduce one major energy drain. If it is emotional regulation, create a recovery rule. If it is execution, complete one meaningful action before adding more research. Third, create a minimum version. Your plan should still function on difficult days. Fourth, track the behavior for 30 days. The tracking method can be simple: a check mark, a note on a calendar, a short daily entry. The goal is to create evidence, not a complicated tracking system. Fifth, review the result before adding another major goal. Ask yourself, what improved? What continued to break down? What did I learn about the system? Which pillar should receive attention next? For example, imagine that focus is your weakest pillar. Your primary objective might be completing one important project. Your strengthening behavior might be working on it for 30 uninterrupted minutes each day. Your minimum version might be 10 minutes on difficult days. You might remove one recurring distraction by placing your phone in another room. Then you track whether the focused session was completed. At the end of 30 days, you review the evidence. The objective is not to rebuild your entire life in 1 week. It is to strengthen the part of the system that is currently causing the most damage. You may not need another dramatic restart. You may not need a more complicated planner, a more extreme routine, or another burst of motivation. You may simply need to understand which part of your system keeps breaking. Awareness helps you see the pattern. Identity changes what you believe is normal and possible. Discipline protects your commitments when motivation fades. Focus gives your attention a clear direction. Energy provides the capacity to continue. Emotional regulation helps your progress survive stress and setbacks. Execution turns intention into evidence. A weak pillar is not a permanent character flaw. It is an area that can be identified, trained, and strengthened. And once you identify it, you no longer have to keep beginning from zero. You can begin from understanding. Comment below with the pillar that is currently costing you the most progress. Naming it clearly is already an act of awareness. If you need help building the foundation underneath these pillars, the LifeShift Foundation Guide is linked in the description. And for ongoing lessons, challenges, tools, and deeper implementation across the pillars and other important areas of life, you can join the LifeShift Systems community. You do not have to change everything today. Identify the weakest point, strengthen it, and build forward from there.